old acquaintance of mine always had this saying that he kept repeating over and over. The future is now. The future is now. I don't know, to me, it always sounded like some marketing tagline for, I don't know, some dodgy healthcare company. Anyway, I've been doing a bit of self-reflection lately about where I am with life, and maybe he's right. Maybe the future is now. Maybe things change. I mean, what we wanted many years ago might not be the case today. Take, for instance, that yearning for that sports bike to carve corners with. It's been replaced with something more comfortable, like a sports touring bike or an adventure touring bike. That flashy Submariner to flex with has been tempered down to something more subtle, like this Seiko SARX-17. And the need to burn dinosaur juice, as fun as it may sound, is slowly giving way to this. Yeah, those who know what I drive are probably yelling blasphemy! But hey, things change. The future is now. Hello everyone, Greg from WapCar, and this is the story of embracing the EV future. If I'm going to be jumping on board the EV bandwagon, I might as well do it with what many consider to be the easiest car to do it with, the BYD Atto 3. I mean, for starters, it looks the most normal, so to speak, right? Because the thing about most EVs is that they look like they come from a different planet altogether. What with their weird creases and lines and curves. I mean, just look at the Hyundai Ioniq 6. Interesting? Yes. Attractive? The BYD Atto 3, on the surface at least, can pass off as almost any regular ICE compact SUV. Size-wise, it plays around with the Proton X50 but is longer and wider, and more importantly, has a longer wheelbase by 120mm. There are touches that add a bit of visual flair, such as these scales in the pillar back here, as well as the full-width light bar at the back. All quite nice. Although with that said, I would prefer it without the Build Your Dreams lettering. That one's just a bit off. As for wheels, the extended range variant that we have here today gets 18-inch wheels, while the standard gets 17s. What about pricing then? We've established that the Atto 3 is a rather safe-looking SUV, but when it comes to really luring new buyers into the EV realm, let's be honest, average Joes and Janes like us don't have many choices. Just take a quick look at what's available right now. We've got EVs from brands like Mercedes, BMW, Volvo, Tesla, and Audi. Not exactly brands known for their affordability. There is Hyundai, Kia, Nissan, Renault and Mazda a bit lower down the price ladder, but if you're talking true affordability, your best bet as of now is the Aura Good Cat, which goes for between 140 to 170k, the BYD Dolphin for around 100 to 125k, and the Netta V for about 100k, and this. There are two specs for the Atto 3, with the standard range priced at 149,800 ringgit, and this, the extended range, priced at 167,800 ringgit. So now that we've established that the BYD Atto 3 is not priced completely out of reach for me and looks safe enough to fly under the radar, the next question to answer is, can I use this? Can I truly use this in place of my daily? Let's find out. Now, I have two invisible cats, so that means regular visits to the vet, so that means I'll need a car that can squeeze in a rather large cage. The power tailgate opens up to a boot space of 440 litres, and because you can rearrange the boot floor, that's a big plus considering the height of the cage. And if I were to put in a bigger cage, the seats can fold flat 60-40. Now the interior to me is a total juxtaposition to the exterior. While the outside is quite tame, inside it's really quite a unique place to be. First off, we've got this tiny 5-inch digital instrument cluster. It looks cute, but frankly it doesn't do it for me. Why? Maybe I'm getting old, but it's very tough to see all the information at a glance. The 12.8-inch rotating touchscreen though, this one I like. It's big, it's clear, the graphics are quite crisp, and as expected, there's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But when you have Apple CarPlay running, that whole rotating gimmick is disabled, so... Then there's the built-in dashcam, and let me tell you, this one, the quality of the footage is really top tier, no kidding. So as funky as it may look, once you get used to the controls, once you get used to this small screen here or not, the interior overall is quite a unique and maybe even a wacky place to be. So as for interior storage spaces, first of all, we have guitar strings by the door card, which is quite funky, I like that. But if I'm being honest, the space can be a little bit bigger. On the center tunnel, we've got a Qi wireless charger here, and beneath it, there is a rather large open compartment area. Elsewhere, there are two cup holders with different levels, and the center armrest storage is actually very, very deep, but I've got a problem with the placement. It's not adjustable, by the way, because in my driving position, my elbow keeps catching the side of it, and it can get very annoying very quickly. So we begin our journey from my place to the vet, which is 22 kilometers away, and we kick off with a range of 408 kilometers and a battery capacity of 85%. On the move, the first thing that strikes me about the Atto 3 is how easy it is to drive. I mean, you hear of EVs giving the occupants whiplash whenever someone stands on the accelerator, but not in the Atto 3, not even in sport mode. Power delivery is linear, and the car builds speed in a very controlled manner. When we tested it, we got a 0 to 100 time of 7.3 seconds, and top speed is quoted at 160 km per hour. In this extended range variant that we have here, the official figures are 420 km on the WLTP cycle. We get a 60.5 kilowatt-hour Blade LFP battery that powers a front-mounted electric motor that puts out 204 horsepower and 310 Newton meters of torque. I'm also happy to report that my invisible cats have told me that the ride is indeed quite pleasant. So in terms of suspension setup, we've got McPherson struts up front and multi-links at the rear, and overall it's quite softly sprung. But if the mood ever strikes you and you want to enter a corner hotter than usual, you'll realize that the Atto 3 can lose its composure quite quickly. Body roll is actually very noticeable, but if you drive it like any sane person would, a family SUV, then you'll be fine. Okay, so we've reached the vet with 363 kilometers of range left, and the battery stands at 75%. Now, mind you, there was lots of traffic and there was no hypermiling of any sorts, okay? Anyway, power consumption now stands at 14.9 kilowatts hour per 100 kilometers. So yeah, that's that. Now, let's go check in. So we're done with the checkup, and the vet has said that there's nothing wrong with my invisible cats, so I'm going to make a run home before going to work, so that's another 28 kilometers for a total of 50 kilometers. Let's go! Okay, so another part of my day involves rocking up to work from my house, so that's another 16 kilometers. Now add that to this morning's vet run and we're at a total of 66 kilometers. So usable range stands at 326 kilometers and the battery capacity is at 68%. So all in all, I would say still good. Alright, let's go. Okay, so 16 kilometers later, we're at my office and remaining range stands at 309 kilometers while the battery capacity is at 64%. So yeah, that's that. And now we're leaving the office, so where to next? Usually, when I feel like it, if I've got energy left in me, I like to swing by the gym. So that is another 9 kilometers away. So we've reached the gym and by this point we have travelled a grand total of 75 kilometers. So just an update, the battery stands at 61% and remaining range is at 295 kilometers. Alright, so I want you to just imagine me parking the car and going in for a workout, coming out an hour later and then leaving for my usual burger joint in SS15, which is another 9 kilometers away. So by the time we reach that burger joint, it should be 84 kilometers, yeah. So we're in SS15, stone's throw away from my favorite burger joint. Update, remaining range stands at 284 kilometers and the battery capacity is at 59%. So let's go grab my burger and head home. And park. Okay, so all in all, we've travelled just 88 kilometers in what would be my usual routine 95-96% of the time. Best part is, we return home with the battery at 57% and the remaining range at 276 kilometers. I don't even need to charge it every night actually. Realistically, I'm looking at a charging stint perhaps once or twice a week just to be safe. AC charging speed is up to 7 kilowatts while DC fast charging is up to 80 kilowatts. At that rate, you go from 0 to 80% in just 45 minutes. Safe to say that the BYD Atto 3 is more than suitable for my daily routine, and if yours is anything like mine, I think we both can agree that this is quite the beginner EV indeed. Or is it? I think Adrian might have something to say about that though. Stay tuned for his thoughts. But for now, we've come to the end of today's story. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and do remember to subscribe for more content like this. Till the next one, drive safe and take care.